Another great episode ahead for you guys. I hope you enjoyed this sports buffet. Go ahead, pull up a chair, get your silverware. Let's dig in. We got a lot to go over today. Some news in college baseball that's not going to make Aggie Land very happy. We're going to talk. We got to play a game called Would You Rather, where I pit two players in college football pretty much at their peak to see who would you rather have. Like the other day, I had in pro, I had Brandon Jacobs and Chubb. Who would you rather have? Trying to put that debate together. Also, my Give 'em a Sixer top six. I'm going to have my six top Olympic sports to watch. But before we get into that, I've talked about the College Football Dogs, a organization I'm proud to be a part of, kind of giving me an opportunity to get back into sports journalism after doing radio for so long out in Oklahoma. And, the good thing about College Football Dogs, what they're doing is they're giving a lot of people a chance to get out there, get some experience, whether it be writing, podcasting, graphic designs. I mean, we got people all over the place. And what I wanted to start doing was introducing some of you guys to some of the new talent that we have. It's a segment, I'm going to call it the New Dogs on the Block. And joining me, he was very gracious to join me. We got Michael Gaither. Oh, God, you got an Aikman jersey already?
Yes, sir. You know it. How about them boys, man? Oh,
I'm a lifelong Washington fan, man. Lifelong Washington fan. But
man, how'd that happen?
I was born in Virginia Beach.
All right. I get that.
Now, I will tell you a funny story real quick. So, being that I did radio in Oklahoma, I got to do some stuff with Roy Williams. And cool. Great guy. We did a celebrity bowling tournament, and my team beat him. And I would like, before he went to roll, I was like, "Hey, Roy, Santana Moss is behind you," and he would just just kind of look, and laugh. But now being an Oklahoma guy, you got CD there. Barry Switzer went to coach there. Again, being a Redskin fan, Commander fan, that kind of stung. But first off, let me say, welcome you to the College Football Dogs. And tell everybody a little bit about yourself. So you're at South Carolina right now?
Yes, sir.
And you're in the band?
Yeah, play sousaphone.
Okay.
Big satellite dish over my head.
When do you guys start practicing? I mean, I know you never stop, but when do you guys start your training, getting ready for the season?
So we start I'm in the leadership team, and we start about that first weekend in August, and then everybody else comes in a few days after that.
Gotcha. And so you're also in majoring in journalism, correct?
Yep.
What is it that wanted you to get into journalism? What got you into wanting to be in the journalism field?
So basically, that journey started when I was in high school. One of my teachers, Lisa Ellis, she was very instrumental, and she's probably the biggest reason I ended up wanting to be a journalist, wanting to write, and connecting that with my love for sports. It was kind of a no-brainer.
Outstanding. And now, you're at the SEC, one of the coolest places to be, and, experience the Darude Sandstorm entrance, just everything involved. But how long you been at South Carolina?
This will be my third year at Carolina, and unfortunately will also be my last. I am graduating early.
Congrats. Hard work paid off. So I got to ask, as a former, as a Sooner, how did you guys really feel welcoming in Spencer Rattler into the Gamecock Nation?
I remember when I first heard the news that Rattler was going to come to Carolina, I was like, oh, okay, this makes perfect sense. Beamer was an offensive guy at Oklahoma, or at least an offensive assistant. And I was like, when Rattler came over, this is one of the most talented guys in the country. He was a former 5-star recruit. I believe he was either the number 1 or number 2 recruit coming out of high school. It was either him or Bo Nix the year they came out, 2019, if you can believe that. But I remember when I first heard that news, I was like, oh, okay, we're getting some talent in. And of course, that first year, we go 8-4, the big wins with Tennessee and Clemson. That the Tennessee win was memorable for me in a bad way, because that entire
fight song all the time.
I had as fun as that game was for everybody else, it was not a fun moment for me. I was sick that entire second half. I had chills. I was shaking in the stands, and of course, I ended up throwing up afterwards. So yeah, that was a common occurrence my freshman year in college. So that was not fun at all. The Clemson win was the more fun moment for me, no doubt. When we beat them at Death Valley, the fake Death Valley, excuse me.
Well, let me ask you that. Being you're at South Carolina and Clemson, for those that don't know, what is that rivalry like? The hatred, the
Yeah.
animosity. What's that like being with you at South Carolina?
I mean, the vitriol. I mean, it exists just as much as it does between Michigan and Ohio State. We don't like each other. We refer to them up there as Pickens County Agricultural School. We don't associate with them all that much. I
Okay.
mean, when I talk sports, I'm always fair with my takes, but when I'm a fan, when I'm in the stands,
Right,
no. We don't mess with Clemson.
right. Well, how did you guys feel about Shane Beamer coming in? Obviously, the son of a legend,
Right.
had some really good experience. Was a good recruiter because I think he was one of the lead
Yeah.
recruiters that got Spencer to Oklahoma.
Right.
But how's the perception of Shane Beamer been so far at South Carolina?
So I think so. Let me first start off when he was first hired. So I was excited by the hire because I'm like, oh, okay, because I start connecting the dots. So he was here before. Spent the last couple of years before he came here at Oklahoma, coaching guys like Mayfield, Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts, and I'm like, oh, okay. This guy has a lot of offensive experience coaching. The guys that are Pro Bowlers now in the NFL. So I thought that was going to be an easy transition for him, to come here and do well. We made won a bowl game his first year, and of course, I guess you could kind of call it a magical season 2 years ago. Last year, we did take a step back. Didn't really have a great offensive line, although the defense played well in spurts. Didn't really have that much of. Let's see. We didn't really have that many offensive weapons outside of Xavier Legette, who was drafted by the Carolina Panthers in the first round in this past draft. So I guess maybe it's for me personally. I think Beamer's seat is hotter than some people want to admit, especially a lot of Carolina fans would like to admit.
Okay.
Because if you look at the schedule and you look at the roster, I highly doubt this team wins more than 4 games. It
That
This roster to me has a lot of glaring holes. They don't have a number one receiver I trust. The offensive line still has a lot of issues. And the defense, while it has a couple of good players, they're not as good as a defense like Bama or LSU or Georgia. So, and even the quarterback situation, I like the quarterback that we have now. The Lenora Sellers is probably going to start for us in the fall, but I don't think he can play well enough for us to consistently win football games. And if you know our athletic director Ray Tanner, I don't think he's someone who's just going to sit around and do nothing. He's going to act. And he might be gone after the year's over if we don't make a bowl game, which sucks because I do genuinely think a lot of Carolina fans, myself included, really like his personality. He's a great guy if you ever get a chance to see him.
right. All right, so I have to ask now, being that I come from Big 12 country, Oklahoma and Texas now coming into the SEC. A lot of the people that have listened to the show, I've tried to talk to some of my friends back in Oklahoma, about them laughing at it just means more. Well, now I live in Birmingham. I've been in Birmingham since 2016 in the mecca of the SEC,
Yep.
surrounded by Bama, surrounded by Auburn. I'm pretty much a half-day drive around everywhere. What's the one thing that Texas and Oklahoma fans need to get ready for that they're unaware of what they're walking into the SEC?
I guess first things first, SEC ain't like the Big 12. The competition is much, much tougher. And I know you've probably looked at Oklahoma's schedule several times. Oklahoma is going to find out pretty quickly like how much of a talent difference there is in
I got
the SEC.
I got them winning 7.
Yeah, so I was honestly around like 6 or 7 games, and of course, I saw your non-conference preview of Oklahoma's non-conference schedule on the College Football Dogs website, and you talked about the Tulane game. That'll be telling because they play Tulane early in the season.
Yeah, early in the season. It's the second game. It's after Temple. I know third game. You got Temple, Houston, then Tulane.
Right.
If you remember a couple of years ago, Oklahoma was
did
Tulane.
they not have like a 20-point lead and then they almost blew it? They had an onside kick that almost got recovered by Tulane. I remember watching that game. Was that not the year Tulane went to the Cotton Bowl and beat USC?
No,
Or
that was
the year after?
the year after.
Oh, okay, that was the year after. But I mean, Michael Pratt, Willie Fritz were still there. So I mean,
Yeah, Willie
I guess
Fritz.
maybe we should be shocked now that that game was competitive. But again, Spencer Rattler was still was still quarterback at the time. It's just like the talent difference was so big, you wouldn't think Oklahoma that game would have been that close. So I think that Tulane game will tell us a lot. And even that Houston game, it's a sneaky one. I mean, I think Oklahoma's better than Houston, but I think
Right.
Donovan Smith is a good QB. And speaking of Willie Fritz, he's now at Houston now.
Now at Houston.
But so I think Texas, in all honesty, will be just fine. The only team that's better than them in the SEC is Georgia. Like, that's it. I mean, if you want to say, maybe Quinn Ewers will come back down to earth a bit now because like his top 4 receivers all went to the NFL. You can make that argument, but I mean, Texas and Coach Sark, they recruited well enough to where Quinn Ewers will be just fine. But I do think if Jackson Arnold doesn't play like the 5-star that he was recruited to be, Oklahoma's in for a very rough time in the SEC, especially for these first couple of years.
Oh yeah, the thing that I like, and I've tried to express to people, recruiting is key, and of course they did a good job in recruiting. Top defensive lineman David Stone at IMG. Of course, he is a Oklahoma City native. His teammate Jaden Jackson came over, had a great spring camp. They got Damon Williams from TCU, who's a freshman.
I heard about the guy from Purdue, the transfer, Deion Burks. I heard he had a good spring.
Deion Burks. And you got to think, Andrew Anthony, who was the transfer from Michigan, was the number 1 receiver, got hurt in the Texas game. So you've got Andrew Anthony, Deion Burke, Nick Anderson, who was a freshman. You got Jaleel Farouk back.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there's some – Bill Bedenbaugh on the offensive line has to piece together a bunch of transfers. What's going to be interesting for me is I finally think the defense has come up with Danny Stutzman at linebacker, Billy Bowman. They've made pretty much all the SEC preseason first team rankings, which if you'd have told me 3 years ago Oklahoma coming to the SEC would have anybody on the all defensive team.
Out of your mind.
So I'm really intrigued to see how this defense plays under Brent. And I know Brent just got his contract extension, but they've been really gearing up for this move for 3 years, trying to get that size. I mean, they're still below average when it comes to the defensive line. But you wrote a really good article, man, talking about the top quarterbacks in the SEC.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a consensus top 5. It's Ewers or Beck, whatever order you want to put them in. I've got Ewers number 1. The only quarterback, quite frankly, in the entire country who's better than Quinn Ewers is Shedeur Sanders over in Colorado. And as much as people are high on Carson Beck, I think he's top 3, top 5 in the country. But I think Ewers is just more talented than Beck. Beck is a really above average game manager, which is not a disingenuous thing to say about him at all. It's quite actually a compliment. That Carson Beck is just a really, really good game manager. Doesn't make mistakes at all. And then you've got Jalen Milroe, by far the most dynamic quarterback in the SEC, but I do think he needs to, be more consistent as a passer. And I think that'll come. We got Kalen DeBoer as his new coach. And then he still has a couple of really good receivers there. The running backs are improving for Milroe, but I think Milroe will be just fine. And then you've got Jackson Dart and Brady Cook. And aside from that, in the SEC, there is a clear consensus. There's a clear consensus of who the top 5 QBs in that conference are.
And now the guys, and I feel bad. The kid from Baylor that's at Mississippi State now.
Oh yeah, Blake Shapen.
Yeah, Blake Shapen. I'm real. After watching, I went and I watched that entire Mississippi State spring game with some of the guys they have coming in. With Jeff Lebby now as the head coach, coming from Oklahoma. I'm really intrigued to see what Blake Shapen does this year in the SEC. I still think it's a make or break year for Lane with Jackson Dart, everything they have.
Really?
They've done. I think it's a make or break year for Lane.
You don't think Lane is as seat is as comfortable at Ole Miss?
I don't, especially with what they've done, NIL, with what they've done, transfer portal, everything like that. They call them. They got a couple guys from South Carolina.
I know firsthand. Yeah.
It's so. I think it's a big year for Lane Kiffin, but I think you're pretty spot on with that top 5. I'm not a big fan of Quinn Ewers. If you go and watch his tape, like his footwork on his deep ball. Obviously, when you got Xavier Worthy, those guys, they make you look good. And that's what the two guys I'm intrigued about is Beck and Ewers, with Beck losing Ladd McConkey and Bowers.
Right.
Were they products of their surroundings, and obviously you need good receivers to be good, but I want to see what both those guys do,
right.
And even with that, go back and watch the film on that Oklahoma-Texas game in that first series. Quinn Ewers telegraphing a terrible pass for an interception.
Yeah, I remember that.
Got things going, but overall, SEC, who do you have favored to win the SEC this year?
This is going to be the battle between Georgia and Texas. That game, I want to say, is it in Texas or is it in Georgia this year?
In Austin.
Okay, so it's in Austin. That's going to be a top 3 matchup. Georgia's the better team. Georgia should run the table. But yeah, interestingly enough, Georgia's not my favorite to win the national championship, though. That would be Ohio State. I think it's close, but Ohio State has more talent, just straight up, than Georgia does. And if we're just branching to Ohio State for a sec, if not now, then when for Ryan Day?
Right, I agree.
I've tried to defend Ryan Day as much as possible, because when you have the win-loss record that he does, and the fact that he's played for a national championship, I've tried to defend Ryan Day, but you losing to Michigan these last 3 years, if you don't win now, the people that were calling for your head for the last 2 years to be fired, yeah, it might be justified if you don't make the national championship. He has to make the national championship for this to be considered a successful season.
Yeah, if he loses to Michigan again, I mean, you got to think guys like, that have lost their jobs in that rivalry. You can't beat Michigan. You're not going to be at Ohio State for very long. Jim Tressel, those guys, you start losing, it's going to be down, But again, I love how this is bringing together some of these games. You've got Texas and Georgia now. You've got Ohio State and Oregon, Michigan, Oregon. Those are all conference games now.
Yeah.
And it'll be really interesting to see how that moves on. But I can't wait. I'm excited about the start of college football season.
As am I.
And the NFL season. Like I said, so I see with your Aikman jersey back. Are you still sold on Dak?
Is wavering. Would I pay him $60 million a year?
Whew.
No. And the reports now that apparently Mike McCarthy's fed up with Jerry Jones and all the BS that he's pulled up there in the front office. Apparently that's the report now. Apparently I've heard that, Dak's contract is getting prioritized over Micah's, and Micah might not be happy about that. I got that Aikman jersey in the back. It's hard being a Cowboys fan, man, especially when you're one of the few sane ones out there.
Right.
Because you know how most Cowboys fans act. We're going to the Super Bowl next year, right? Like,
I lived in Oklahoma, so it was either you were a Cowboys fan or a Chiefs fan. That was before the Chiefs are. I'm going back to Dante Hall and those guys.
Right.
But the Cowboys and being at that stadium, it's so crazy being in Jerry World and just being a part of a game there. So do you being in the band? Are you part of the travel band? Do you get to go on the road?
So the way, specifically for football season, the way travel works is we all get a form at the start of the year during band camp, and you have first choice, second choice, third choice for games. Almost everybody I know wants to go to the Oklahoma game when we play Oklahoma, because we only get to travel for 4 away games. It's like Kentucky, which who wants to go to Lexington? Vanderbilt.
Forget the Commonwealth.
Right. Alabama. And I'm probably applying to grad school there, so I probably want to attend Alabama, see if I can get a tour there. And in Oklahoma, and of course everybody goes to the Clemson game, and we're all going to Macy's for the Macy's parade, which is going to be amazing.
Nice.
But, hopefully I'll get a chance to at least go to a couple of games aside from Clemson. That's what
right. Yeah, Clemson. I'm not a big Dabo fan. Just the way. And I've run into him here in Birmingham because he's from Pelham. His mom still lives right down the road in Pelham, and I used to work at Best Buy here in Hoover, and he'd come into Best Buy during the off season because he'd be there. I would just look at him and be like, "There's just something off about you, man. There's something off about you."
Something not right.
Not right, and he's proven that with how he's handling things. So I
No,
was
this
glad
this whole thing with Dabo just like pushing aside the transfer portal. Yeah,
yeah,
maybe there's a reason why you haven't been to a national championship in 5 years. I'm just saying.
right. And DJ Uyunglele was not the guy. Neither is Clay Covering. They're not. DJ's not going to get it done at Florida State either. I mean, all
Yeah,
these people who think it's not going to happen at Florida State.
and mind you, I might even agree with that. And I'm higher on Uyunglele and Klubnik than most are. If you saw my ACC QB ranking, both of them are in my top 5. I don't know whether that's a testament to how what we honestly think of the ACC quarterback situation. Their best quarterback is Cam Ward, who probably isn't even a top 10 or he's probably in that 15 to 11 range. I don't think Cam Ward is top 10. Good quarterback, yes. He's not great or elite by any stretch. Maybe
Right.
that just goes to show like how the outlook of ACC QBs are. Maybe that's it. But just I don't see any team from the ACC making a playoff run. I just don't.
It's going to be hard. Like I said, I just watching DJ at Clemson, watching DJ at Oregon State. When the moment gets big, I think he doesn't live up to all the hype for him. Relied heavily on really good ground game at Clemson. Obviously, relied on a really good ground game at Oregon State.
Definitely at Oregon State.
But just I don't know. And with the number of guys that left Florida State, it'll be intriguing. I think NC State is kind of a team,
very intriguing.
To watch them early in the year. I mean, they got that game with Tennessee, which I think is going to be.
That'll tell us a lot, right? That's one of those early season non-conference games. You want to find out who the true contenders in the conference are. We're gonna find out who's for real and who's pretending. That'd be because that game isn't. That's a neutral site game, ain't it?
A neutral site game in Charlotte, I believe.
So now you can. So I mean, you can. Can you really say that's a de facto home game for NC State? I mean, because NC State's in Raleigh. So I mean, I don't know if you can say that's a de facto home game, but I'm sure Tennessee fans made the travel for that trip as well.
With all the hype, I think they're probably gonna do what they can to get up there. But switching back over to the NFL, obviously a lot of quarterback heavy. Caleb Williams, again, another quarterback. He replaced Spencer Rattler, which was an odd situation to hear the home team booing for a quarterback that was the undefeated quarterback at the time. You bring in Caleb Williams. Now, I think Caleb, here's my take on Caleb. I think Caleb is a generational athlete. I don't know if he's a generational quarterback yet.
Okay.
I think he's very, very talented and is improvisational.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I don't know if he can really read defenses. And that's just, I want to see. And I'm not rooting against the kid. I understand why he left and went to USC. He wanted to play for Lincoln. That's why he came to Oklahoma. He wanted to play for Lincoln. That's why he went to USC. I don't know yet. And could he develop it? Sure. He's got great arm. I'll always have respect for him for that Texas game, everything that he did.
That Texas game was absolutely insane.
Off the chain, some of the throws he made. But of the quarterbacks that came in, who do you think is going to? And it's kind of hard to say if they would be a CJ Stroud because he had such a phenomenal rookie season. Who do you think would be the closest to that of all the rookie quarterbacks that got signed?
Well, I think it will be Caleb because he's going to have the best opportunity of all the quarterbacks that got drafted, specifically in the first round, to have the best numbers. Chicago still has DJ Moore and Cole Kmet. They wouldn't got Keenan Allen. They wouldn't got Rome Odunze. They drafted him from Washington. They got DeAndre Swift from Philadelphia. So Caleb Williams is going to have the chance to have a really good season for Chicago. He'll put up, maybe if he puts up 3,300 yards passing, something like that, maybe 30 touchdown passes. I think he's going to have a chance to have a really good season in Chicago. I'm with you. I mean, I do think Caleb Williams is generational. So I think he definitely has the best chance out of these first round QBs to have the biggest impact for sure.
What do you think about my boy in Washington, the Heisman Trophy winner, Jayden Daniels?
I think Washington is on the come up. They got Terry McLaurin.
I love Terry.
Maybe the most underrated receiver in the league. They have Brian Robinson, His story is amazing, and
They got Eckler now.
runs angry.
They got Eckler now with him in the back.
Eckler now for a touchdown machine from the Chargers. Who are the other receivers? They don't have Curtis Samuel anymore. They got Jahan Dotson. Yeah,
who's played really, really well. So I'm intrigued to see what Washington does. I still think, Philly and Dallas are probably the class of the NFC East.
Nah, just Philly.
Just Philly. But
I hate Eagles fans, and I can say that.
Dallas always finds a way to play well during the season, and they lose to
and then they love by January.
But AFC wise, it's still like I think it comes down to the Chiefs and the Ravens, especially now with the Ravens getting Derrick Henry.
Yeah, man. Look, the AFC is such a gauntlet, right? Now, obviously, I think you and I can agree that the Chiefs, specifically Mahomes, is just on a level. Mahomes is in a tier by himself as far as quarterbacks go. You've still got, but what's crazy is if I were to name the top 4 quarterbacks in the NFL, they're all from the AFC. It's Mahomes, and then some combination of Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, and Lamar Jackson. Now, I'd probably have Lamar second, and then Burrow, maybe Burrow third, Allen fourth, something like that. But there's a clear, the top 4 QBs are all in the AFC. And as crazy is guys like Tua, he's an above average quarterback. And that's like the bar for how good the AFC QBs are. Just be as good as Tua. It's crazy. And Tua, and as good as Tua is, as good as a coach Mike McDaniel is in Miami, the Dolphins might not even make the playoffs because the Jets, if Aaron Rodgers just plays average football, and mind you, I can't stand Aaron Rodgers. Condescending, aloof, crazy conspiracy theories. And of course, he ripped my heart out in 2 Januaries, and I was sitting there crying with my dad watching after he beat Dallas in 2016 and 2014 with the Desno catch. But I digress. The Jets in Buffalo are still going to be good. So that's why even with as good as Mike McDaniel is as a coach, Miami might even make the playoffs. Hang on one second. My friend was calling me. I had to call him back. Baltimore, Cincinnati, the AFC North will be competitive like it always is. Now, but we will have some conversations about Deshaun Watson and how that might be one of the worst trades in NFL history.
Yeah, they got rid of my boy Baker, and Baker's he's got re-signed. He's got his old running buddy from Oklahoma, Sterling Shepard's down at Tampa with them, and Baker likes to prove people wrong. So it'll be interesting to see how he does. But I'm gonna switch over to the NBA. I love the NBA. I got to start covering the Thunder when I was out in Oklahoma City, so obviously grew to really like the team. I thought they had a great year this year, number 1 seed. I still think Shai Gilgeous should have been MVP for what he did. The North Carolina Tar Heels were older than the Oklahoma City Thunder. Seriously.
So great.
And he led them to a number 1 seed. Now, I think in this trade, Giddey for Caruso, I think it addressed a glaring weakness because Giddey was a defensive liability in that Dallas series. And Dallas played extremely well when Kyrie's not talking about flat earth stuff and he's just playing basketball. Kyrie, when he goes Uncle Drew, can play ball.
Right.
I think now you bring in Caruso, what's a 2-time defensive All-NBA team.
Yeah.
He's got a little bit of swagger to him because he can dunk, stuff. And with that young core with Chet and SGA, I mean, it kind of, gosh. And it takes you back to almost that 2011, 2012 run when you had KD, Westbrook, Serge Ibaka, Thabo Sefolosha, Harden, all those guys out there. Who do you think won that trade, the Thunder or the Bulls?
Oh, it's easy. It's the Thunder. That's the easiest question you've asked me today. As a Chicago Bulls fan, just thinking about this gives me a migraine. The Chicago Bulls make me want to tear out the rest of my hair, and there ain't that much left in there for having to watch this front office do what they call smart moves. Yeah. It's unbearable to see this, to watch this team. It's just they don't know what they're doing in that front office. They just don't know what they're doing. I can understand trading Alex Caruso, but you should have done that earlier.
Yeah.
You could have gotten 2 first-round picks for a guy who's 2-time all first team all defense. It's infuriating. They literally did a straight up trade player for player. And not only did the player that you get was not very good, apparently has issues off the court, and you got no draft compensation. Like, what are we doing, bro?
Yeah, he's
You
kind
and
of
I can run the front office better than the Chicago Bulls can.
he's kind of got that angle that Kendrick was coming at Drake about liking young ones. So I mean,
Say Drake, I hear you like him young. Like, what are we talking?
But yeah, I like it. I hoped Oklahoma City would have won that game against Dallas, but the NBA was extremely upset, because they wanted a little bit better matchup than what it was, and the Celtics just dominated Dallas.
The Celtics doing what they were supposed to do, quite frankly.
They did what they were supposed to do. They did. So I got to ask you, Michael, this show, Sports Bites, I talk about sports and I talk about food, something that I love the best. Right. Now, I've done some stuff, kind of research, and I want to make sure I say it right. The Cockabus. Yeah.
I haven't been there. I don't think I've played. Let's see. As far as Cockaboo's goes, I haven't been inside, but I have played in Pep bin in front of Cockaboo's.
All right.
That's the best experience I've had with that.
Here's my question for those traveling, because I always like to do like stadium reviews. What's there to eat? What's the best place to eat on game day?
Oh, on game day? Well, I tell you what me and the other Susan fans do. we go down to Waffle House every morning. That's what we usually do. Right. But nah, if we're talking like non-chain stuff, I love food too. Big pizza guy, but I'm trying to think of like restaurants that are like they're really like connected to Columbia, not anywhere else. There's a place
scene out there. Is it a pretty good tailgating scene?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Can't wait to see the history and tradition, all that good stuff.
There's, I guess, the main restaurant I know that I've gone to, because it was near my dorm. It's called 1801 Grill. It has really good burgers, really good steak. It's weird. It can be casual and it can also be very formal, of what I've learned, because I've seen, people go there on dates, and then I've also seen, like large groupings of like families and friends go in there. So it's, I guess it'll depend on like what your mood is. But I think 1801 Grill, I think, is like the first one that comes to mind.
Well, I tell you, if you do get a chance to go to Norman, you got to go to Pickleman's on Campus Corner.
Okay.
Like pizza, it's a cracker style pizza. It's a very thin crust, but they got some really.
Okay, you've already piqued my interest. I'm a huge pizza fan. My friends will tell you that.
Pickleman's right there on Campus Corner. Now it's unfortunately famous for that's where Joe Mixon had his little run.
I see.
So
became an amateur kickboxer.
But hey, I know both parties involved. I'll just say I'm surprised that's the first person that's ever lashed out at that person that got what happened. But it's not a good. Neither one of them, should have been in that place. But
I see.
Man, Michael, tell everybody how they can follow you. Obviously, you're a writer now. I think some of the articles you've put out are really good. I like the insight on your quarterback selections. And you work for the paper on campus, don't you?
Yeah, I worked at the Daily Gamecock these last 2 years. Now, since we're going to be an RA at USC this coming year, I decided to not do a third year at the Daily Gamecock. But you can find my article. You can find all the articles I've written if you just search like Michael Gaither Daily Gamecock and like a Google or Safari search, and you should be able to find them. I have a YouTube channel. It's called Mike G Sports Highlights. I posted 7 videos. I do highlights of college football, NFL, and MLB. I'm going to start posting there more often over the summer.
Nice.
Instagram was where I'll post when I've done articles, when articles are coming up. So doing some exciting things this summer, man.
Well, like my thing is, I had the opportunity and was very fortunate to do radio for about a decade out in Oklahoma. And, it's a passion of mine. I love seeing, new people come into the fold. And that's why I think what the college football dogs is doing is such a great thing, because it's in its infancy. There's still some things we can't tell the public that are coming, but just know, the college football dogs are coming, and it's going to be a lot of fun this year. Any big articles you got in the chamber coming up?
I know you saw the every SEC team's best quarterback.
Yeah.
So I've got more of those coming out. And then the one I'm working on right now actually is the best every SEC team's best season. So
Okay.
Alabama 2009, for South Carolina it was 2012. Just pick any of the 11-1 season, 2011, 2013. Honestly, it could have been that. But that one's coming out. I want to say tomorrow. I'm working on that one. So got some big things coming out. Definitely.
Well, guys, like I said, if you go on to College Football Dogs, you can find Michael's articles. He's doing a fantastic job, and like I said, when it gets close to the Oklahoma South Carolina game, we'll have to get back on together and kind of look at where we are in the season. Yeah. And the schedule. I told people I love it. I love competition, and now Oklahoma, you have it. Like last year, I tell people the best game they had at home, schedule wise, looking at interest of game, was TCU on Black Friday. And that was a bad TCU team.
Yeah, bad.
Now you got Tennessee coming in with the history of Josh Heupel. He was your quarterback in 2000 for the national championship.
Yeah.
You got Shane Beamer coming back. You've got Alabama coming in. You go to Missouri. I'm not a fan of Missouri. I think Eli Drinkwitz looks like the wrong O'Shea brother from The Little Giants. I think they're pumping their chest because they beat a heavily depleted Ohio State team. Now, I love Theo Weiss. He was at Oklahoma. I think he's a receiver with him and Luther Burden. I want to see how they do without their running back.
Cody Schrader. Because, mind you, Cody Schrader was a 1,600-yard rusher and was a first-team All-American. They're going to miss him.
They're going to miss him. So, to me, Eli Drinkwitz is just a scoob, But you've got to go on the road to Auburn, which Jordan Hare – it's always a tough place to play.
It has that mystery to it, especially in the Iron Bowl, bro. How many times are we going to see crazy endings between Bama and Auburn and Jordan Hare?
My sister is a huge Auburn fan, and I remember the day the kick six happened. I got home because we played an 11 a.m. game, and I had already done all the post game stuff, and I walked in right when they kicked the field goal, and you see Davis. My sister called me, and it was the loudest I've ever heard a phone. Oh, my gosh.
Was she in Jordan Hare when that happened?
Yes.
Man, that must have been fun.
Wow. I'm excited. I get to go to Jordan Hare, in September. The 28th, Oklahoma plays down there. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I want to try to get to Oxford because we got to go play at Ole Miss. I know we play Bama, and then the very next week we got to travel to LSU. I was like, you did us no favors. But, of course, Bama plays us in Norman. Then you got the Iron Bowl the next week. So it's there's competition all around. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm excited. I can't wait for it. But I just want to say you're doing a great job. I love the articles. Keep it up, man. Like I said, if you need me to come on your show, be more than happy to. We'll try. Are you a gamer?
I am not, unfortunately.
If you were interested in the EA game coming out, because that's
okay. I'll say this. Meaning, I play games, but I'm not like a serious video game. I'm not a streamer. I'll say that because I'm maybe like I'm more excited than most when it comes to the EA college football game. I've been waiting for this for a long time. I play NCAA 14, played the revamped mod, so I think it'll be pretty interesting to see. What the modes that are on the game and how the game looks aesthetically.
Well, especially when they're doing like the environment and the beginning at Bryce Stadium there after you do the intro and how it's going to affect the plays and stuff like that. But Michael, man, I appreciate you taking the time to come on tonight, man. Enjoy your evening. Keep up the good work, and we'll see you in some of these meetings.
All right, man. Take care.
Take it easy. That is Michael Gaither, and I'm gonna tell you. Man, some good stuff there. I think he's done a lot of really good work for the college football dogs, and I'm excited to see what is to continue. But we do have I don't know if it's really breaking news because it happened earlier. But as you can see, first off, to TJ, if you're listening from the College Football Dogs, to the Tennessee fans, congratulations. You got a national championship. Jim Schlossnagle, all right? Jim Schlossnagle loses the College World Series last night, bounces, and decides to go to Texas A&M. I can't even wrap my brain around how Aggie fans, and I'm not a supporter of Aggie fans. I think they're a weird group of people, but to each their own, I guess. But after losing the College World Series, Jim Schlossnagle decides to head to the biggest rival of the Texas A&M Aggies and goes to the Texas Longhorns to be the baseball coach. There was talk with Texas try to go after Vitoli and what he's done at Tennessee. Probably the price tag too high, but wow. Schlossnagle is in Texas. And it's hard for me to really believe it. Guys, if you're in the chat, hop in, let me know what you're thinking about this. I know we got a lot of college baseball fans that are out there, but God almighty, Jim Schlossnagle now at the Texas Longhorns. So it's going to be really interesting to see, what happens when you go to a team like that. It's just it's unreal. I'm trying to think of a comparison. Like, how would you compare it in other sports? Like, how would it's? I'm totally at a loss. But we're going to start playing our game now. Would you rather? We're going to start defensively, and I want to know: would you rather in college? Now, let me preface this. This isn't in college debate. We're not talking about their pro careers. We're not talking about what happened there, but we're talking about what would you do? Who would you rather have? Now, we're going to go to defense first. Who would you rather have from college? Ray Lewis or Derek Brooks? I think both are phenomenal college football players. To me, I lean more towards, and again, just looking at the college football aspect of it, I love what Derek Brooks was for Florida State. That Bobby Bowden, he was the leader on the defense, wearing the old cowboy collar, both guys rocking half shirts. That was back when Florida State, Miami, it was a phenomenal game every season. But who would you take? If you were in this and you had to pick one guy for your college defense, not knowing what they'd be in the pros, just what they did in college, would you take Derek Brooks or Ray Lewis? I think I'm going Derek Brooks. I think what Ray Lewis, a phenomenal talent. But I also think Derek Brooks is just a little bit better. Just a little bit better. Now, my next one is going to stump you a little bit. Who would you rather have? Now, this is in their prime in college. Barry Sanders or Reggie Bush? Barry Sanders or Reggie Bush? Who would you rather have? All right. Would you rather have Barry, Heisman Trophy winner? You think everything. Barry had a great year. Returned kicks, set rushing records, scoring records, everything. Then you watch Reggie Bush. Reggie Bush returned kicks. Reggie Bush was a phenomenal athlete. Now, a big difference is, obviously, Reggie Bush, they win national championships. Oklahoma State never did. Quarterback, you had a really good quarterback in Matt Leinart there with Reggie Bush, Lindell White, everybody at USC. Now, Barry Sanders, you had Mike Gundy as your quarterback. Now, you can laugh all you want at the mullet, everything, but Mike Gundy was the quarterback at Oklahoma State at that time. Hartley Dykes coming off the heels of Thurman Thomas. But who would you rather have? And I wanted to try to pit these guys against each other because it's something that, I think you really can get into because they're very similar. Both dynamic, both extremely fast, dangerous in the open field, both returning kicks. If for those who don't know, Barry Sanders in back-to-back season openers had a kickoff return for a touchdown. We all saw what Reggie Bush was able to do. For me, I'll say this. If I had to pick one, now Reggie Bush is probably a little bit better receiver out of the backfield. But again, the team he played on was a far superior team than what Barry Sanders played for at Oklahoma State. If I had to pick, who would I rather have in college if I'm drafting a team and I get to pick my choice? I think I'm taking Barry Sanders over Reggie Bush. I know some people may think that's crazy, but I like what Barry brings all together. Both shifty, both fast, but I like Barry Sanders in this one. Now, here's another one. This one is going to, and I hope stir up a little bit of controversy. Who would you rather? Vince Young or Cam Newton when they were in college? All right. Vince Young or Cam Newton? Who would you rather have? Vince Young did not win a Heisman. Cam Newton won a Heisman. Both won a national championship. Cam Newton really drugged that team along. Vince Young was a catalyst for Texas. For me, I'm probably leaning more towards the Vince Young side. And the reason why is Vince Young led a team to beat that USC team with Reggie Bush. That was a lot of people saying one of the best to ever do it. They said it was one of the best teams to ever do it, right? Both dynamic, both great runners, different runners. Vince, although he was big, he was not going to run you over. He wasn't about to truck you. Cam Newton would run over you. And, you think about his time like that. What were they down? 21-0 against Alabama to come back and win. Whew. Phenomenal game. And again, this isn't made to talk bad about any player. Just kind of what, if you had to pick. And I tried to get guys very similar in size, statistics, seasonal outcomes, both of them national champions. Really, the only big difference is, Vince didn't win the Heisman that year. But I think, man, and it's not, I think Vince was special because of that Rose Bowl game and that season. But I also remember seeing Vince Young fumbling, in the Red River game against Oklahoma. He grew into a very good quarterback. But if I had to pick in college, that magic that Cam Newton had, I don't think you can duplicate that. I think that's something, it's lightning you catch in a bottle, and boom. I for me, that's where I like, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to continue this as we move on throughout the year. All right, we're going to continue to do who would you rather. We're going to do some offense. We're going to do some defense, and really get into it. I do want to. Let's see. I want to get into this. Let me pull it up for you real quick. We talked about the EA Sports game, right? EA is doing some kind of leaks and releases. And here you go. The EA Sports College Football 25 toughest places to play. Davis Wade Stadium at number 25. The Cowbells. I need more cowbell. I think, again, it's one of those things that I want to experience now that the team that I love is in the SEC. Starkville's not that far, which I'm still trying to figure out how you pick this, because if it's that tough a place to play, wouldn't they win more games? And I don't mean that as a shot to Mississippi State, but really, wouldn't they win more football games? Albertson Stadium out at Boise. Again, I think it's the uniqueness of the turf. I don't know if it's too loud, too intimidating. Spartan Stadium from Michigan State at 22. Notre Dame coming in at 21. I think they've lost a lot of their luster. I don't think they are what Notre Dame fans think they are, if you want me to be honest. Number 20, Kinnick Stadium. I wish Iowa had an offense that can match the enthusiasm of those fans for the kids at the hospital. They just don't have it. Darrell K. Royal Stadium in Texas. Again, Texas Longhorn Stadium, named for an Oklahoma football player, Darrell Royal. But I don't know if it's one of the most intimidating places to play. Rice-Eccles Stadium, Utah gets really crazy. Lane Stadium, when they're good. But see, what I don't understand is like going into this, obviously you're going to have the Inner Sandman entrance. You're going to do all that. I'm just surprised that we're going to have that Michigan Stadium at number 16, the Big House. Now, again, coming up in 2026, I believe Oklahoma and Michigan are playing a home and an away, right? So I'm really excited about that. I want to see the Big House. Williams-Brice Stadium at 15. I just talked with Michael Gaither. Obviously, he is a big, South Carolina proponent. Now, this is one that I'm really confused about. Jordan-Hare Stadium at number 14. I don't get it. I don't get it. I mean, there's something about Jordan-Hare Stadium that makes it tough to play. Look at the kick six. Look at last year. Look at the last couple games George has been there. I mean, there's just something about going to Jordan-Hare, no matter what that football team's record is. When that crowd's starting to swag surf and really get into it, I thought this should have been higher. And I'm going to tell you who I think they should have replaced when we get there. Number 13, Neyland Stadium, a great stadium. I think too low. Rocky top, throwing mustard bottles, doing all that stuff. I think Neyland Stadium, again, but you got to win more football games. Number 12, Memorial Stadium, Clemson, Howard's Rock, to do all that. Still not sold on Clemson this year. Autzen Stadium. For the size of the crowd, this place is absolutely bonkers. The Ducks get into it. The Swamp, man, comes in at number 10. I can't wait to see the Swamp. To hear them do the Tom Petty won't back down. I'm excited whenever that happens. Doak Campbell Stadium, Florida State, the Tomahawk Chop, Chief Osceola coming out, slamming a spike in. I'm all about it, right? Number 8, my team, the Oklahoma Sooners. Gaylord Family Oklahoma Memorial Stadium, ranked as the 8th toughest place to play. And I call bullshit. Now, I know I might upset some of my Oklahoma friends, but if you've been to the game, it's not the stadium, it's not the environment that makes it tough to play in Oklahoma. Now, I've seen both. I've been in the press box. I've been in the stands. You've got old money fans that are yelling at you to sit down. They can't see. The student section is god-awful. It's a front-running crowd. If Oklahoma gets up by halftime, you can look over in that student section. Vamonos. They're over to O'Connell's Irish Bar and Grill. They're getting, on Campus Corner. They're doing their thing. I don't think OU is a top 10 place to play. I don't. I don't recall a game to where the crowd made that kind of difference. Now, we can go back to when they had the jump around game playing against the Texas Tech team that had just knocked off Texas. Nebraska coming in the last year with Callahan and really jumping out early on them. But Oklahoma's success has not come from the fan. I'm sorry. It's not because of the stadium. Now they've done all the renovations, bolted in. They had to do some adjustments to be ready for the SEC. But Oklahoma Stadium is not one of the top 10 toughest places to play in college football. I'm sorry. It's not. And I think Auburn should have been here at number 8. If you ask me, Auburn should have been here at number 8. Number 7, Camp Randall Stadium. Jump around. Bucky's going to get into it. They're going to have a good time. Number 6, Beaver Stadium, Penn State. Again, the whiteout, they do their thing. Cool. Sanford Stadium for the Georgia Bulldogs at number 5. Ohio Stadium. Now, when you get to the top 3, again, it's intriguing. Death Valley. to me, one of the most intimidating places to play. If it's a night game, they've been out there drinking, the crowd singing neck, corn dogs are going crazy. Shoot, you don't want any part of that. They got them at third, tough place to play. Memorial Stadium, Bryant Denny at number 2. Again, another place. You've even heard Nick Saban talk about the fans. Are they spoiled? The student section leaving? And just, I don't know. I don't know if they should be number 2. But number 1, they put A&M Kyle Field. And again, you've been there. You've seen all the swaying farmers fight, giga whoop boop, all that crazy milkmaid stuff they do. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. Now, I'm going to be intrigued because this is a thing on the game that they're going to do with how tough it is to play there, right? That could affect how players are. But I don't think Kyle Field should have been number 1. As a Sooner, I don't think Oklahoma should have been in the top 10. Neyland Stadium and Jordan-Hare Stadium are way too low. Davis Wade Stadium, from Mississippi State, they're number 25. I get it. Lane Stadium, is it that tough to play once you get past Inner Sandman? Is it that tough to play? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But we'll have more coming out. Stay tuned to the College Football Dogs and look for articles. I'm going to be writing an article on the top 5 group of 4 teams to use to build your dynasty. And the way I'm going to preface the top 5 is recruiting footprint, where they're at, where can they recruit, where's the hotbeds, uniforms, stadiums, stuff like that. Of course, everything's going to be in, the game, NIL, transfer portal, all that. So really, really, I think it's a good job if you come in. But man, Kyle Field, number 1, I don't buy it. Not the number 1 toughest place to play in college football. But next, one of my favorite segments. It's my Give 'em a Sixer top 6, right? And this one, top 6 Olympic sports to watch. And I'm going to tell you why. I love the Olympics. The Olympics are coming up. You've been seeing all the Olympic trials. Now, again, this is just for me. You can comment in the section if you think I'm wrong. But the Olympics are coming up in Paris. And here's my top 6 sports that I like to watch every Summer Olympics. Number 6, soccer. I love soccer. The beautiful game. You look at some of the top paid professional athletes. Every time when they do their release of the highest earners, I think the top 10 are soccer players. But I love the game. I love the game. I'm excited. My wife and I are going to London in August. That's the weekend that EPL starts. We're trying to find tickets to a game, which we're finding hard to find tickets to a game, but can't wait to get out there. But that's my number 6. My number 6 is soccer as far as top sports to watch in the Olympics. Number 5, volleyball. And it's men's and women's. I love, this is, I don't have, just watch women's. Just watch men. This is both. I love the Olympic volleyball. One, I tell you, it makes me realize how unathletic I really am. Because watching volleyball, man, they can get it, can't they? They can absolutely get it. Now, the next one that I have, swimming. I love the swimming competitions. I want to see if Ledecky can finish 20 seconds ahead of the opponents again. There's always some intrigue. You watch people. It's great. But that, for me, number 4 is swimming. That's what I like. Now, number 3. My number 3 is a little bit different. And I say this because this is something that I'm doing. It's something that I compete in. Very proud of where I'm at. I need to continue to train, get a little bit better. I'm too old to be in the Olympics, but I have an opportunity to possibly move on and compete at a different level, which would be kind of crazy to think of. But my number 3 sport to watch, Olympic weightlifting. I people like it's not. I love watching Olympic weightlifting. It's a great event. The different sizes, you go from the small guys up to the big guys, the women. Seeing women out there clean and jerking 300 pounds, good for you. I ain't mad at you. Do what you need to do. But man, whew, I love the Olympic weightlifting. For me, that's my number 3. My number 2, gymnastics. Men's and women's gymnastics. To me, I go back to I went to high school with Shannon Miller. Really became a fan of the Olympic. My sister was a huge Mary Lou Retton fan, and had to really buy into it. But I love gymnastics. Now my number 1. Let's see if I can get it to pull up. My number 1, track and field, baby. Everything in track and field. Everything in track and field. The sprints, the field events, the throwers, pole vaulters, javelin, shot put, discus, all that. All of that. That's my number 1 for. I remember watching Carl Lewis, Edwin Moses, guys like that. Gail Devers. Just the amount of phenomenal people in track and field. I can't wait. I can't wait. And watching that made me realize, have you guys seen the 16-year-old? Quincy Williams. He missed out, but this is a 16-year-old competing to make it to the Olympics in the 400 meter. That's not an easy race. And he's running against grown-ass men. He's running against grown men and missed by hundredths of a second to qualify for the Olympics. This was the semifinal race here, and he was able to qualify to go to the finals because of his time. But you can see when he comes out, you see the difference. He looks like a 16-year-old running against grown-ass men. And I'd heard about the kid. He had set the 18 under world record the day before. And you're seeing, his stride. He's got that long stride. He's not a big guy. See there, it looks like he's not even supposed to be in this race. Somebody let their kid out on the track. But as they come around getting ready for the final 100, he looked, I was like, ooh, man, he's not doing too good. But if you watch the kick that Quincy has right here, and I love this angle, you see him coming, the long stride, but I'd already popped a hamstring, I'd have been done. But look at him close in. He almost finished in the top 2. He finished third. Finished third as a 16-year-old. Now, he didn't qualify for the Olympics, and I know, that's the goal. That's the goal. You're looking for the Olympic qualifications, right? But, I just kudos to him. Hopefully, we'll see him in 4 years at the next Olympics and, see him continue to do great things. But, guys, that's going to wrap it up for me tonight. I want to thank everybody who jumped in. Michael Gaither, again, of the College Football Dog Network, one of the new writers. I think he's done a phenomenal job. Go check out some of his articles and pay attention to the College Football Dogs, guys. We are coming. We are coming. And I just want you to say, for everybody that's given support, thank you. I appreciate all the support, the kind words. This is a passion of mine. So, again, everybody, I hope you have a great Tuesday evening. And we will see you next week.
So shut